kind of stuck to the principles around people, around the processes, around, sort of your mindset. What should you be doing on a day-to-day basis? Making sure that you carve out some time for yourself. I call it the hustle trap just because before I got in this accident, that's where I was. It was like I had grown this business, and the skills that got me to where I was, which was just working like a dog, were the same skills that were holding my business back. And so I call that the hustle trap. It was like I was putting in the 70 hours a week, and I thought that was the right thing to do, but it was a totally wrong thing to do. And so the book just kind of helps you sort of walk back from that and help you get over the hump to get to sort of the next level of where you want to be in business.
Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Construction MF'ers. My name is Scott Pieper. I'm the founder and CEO of Mobilization Funding. Today, we are going to tackle another problem in the construction world, which is dirt. Clean dirt, dirty dirt. What do you do with dirt? And I brought in a perfect guest and representative to talk about that today. Ryan Crownholm. He is the founder and CEO of Dirt Match, a really cool idea. I think he's revolutionized into a company where you can find and get rid of clean dirt or any kind of dirt. And Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, Scott? Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And Ryan also is the author of a book called The Hustle Trap, which I think is also cool because you have an entrepreneurial journey. You're also an Army veteran. You've also started and exited a construction business. You wrote a book. I think you're going to provide some cool insights, not only on how to solve dirt world, but the rest of our guests and people are all in business in the construction world or finding their own way in any kind of path in entrepreneurship. And I think you're going to offer some cool insights. So I'm excited to get into it.
I hope so, Scott. Yep.
Well, let's dive into talk a little bit about how you got even into construction. I know you went in the Army and ultimately found yourself in the construction world. How did that happen?
Well, it was just about leveraging what I had, which was nothing when I got out of the military. So, I was a strong kid. I was 20 at the time when I got out. I think I was 22 years old. When I was in the military, I did air defense. I shot Stinger missiles. And so there wasn't a whole lot of people hiring for that job, maybe like Al-Qaeda or something.
So it wasn't hard to get interviews to talk about it, though, I bet.
Yeah, it was. Well, I started going to school because I wanted to take advantage of the Montgomery GI Bill. And so as long as they were paying me, I'd go to college. And while I was there, I figured I would start a business. And so of all things, I started a hauling and junk removal business. And that was back in 2000. And I grew that business to about 10 trucks and 20 guys or so. And, it was doing pretty well. And so I decided, hey, I kind of like working for myself. And then over the years, that sort of evolved and turned into, start buying other tractors and bobcats and roll-offs and then 10-wheelers and transfers and so on and so forth. And, boys like toys. And so the bigger equipment I could get, the more I bought. So that's how I ended up sort of in the demolition and general engineering space.
That's cool. In that space, what's the type of job you would typically work on?
Well, so it depends. In the beginning, it was anything. I was very, very broad. So, 1 week we'd tear down a house. The next week we'd, dig in some pipelines. The next week we could do some grading. And then when in 2007, when the housing market collapsed, a lot of our work dried up. But the one thing that picked up a lot in the Bay Area, anyhow, was swimming pool removal. And so we got to the point where we were taking out 300 swimming pools a year. And so this is sort of what surfaced this dirt problem. I mean, dirt was always a problem, but once we had a need for, between 500 to 1,000 yards a week of dirt, it became something that I needed to sort of hack. And so I had a person in my office that basically just dealt with our dirt. And so that's sort of where Dirt Match eventually was born from.
So tell me that, why does someone want to yank that many pools out? Why would someone take a pool out? To replace it, or are they?
No. For the most part, it was these pools went in back in the 50s and 60s. Rebar was cheap, concrete was cheap, energy, utilities, all those things. It was just more affordable to put in a pool. And it was, fun. But the truth is, in the Bay Area, there's 2 weeks a year where you could actually swim. And so now these pools are, 50, 60, 70 years old. And people are like, do I want to spend 80 grand remodeling this thing or just pay this guy 10 or 20 grand to take it out? And so that's what we did. We just offered this service, and we'll come and take it out and sort of special. Now we were doing lots of other stuff as well, but
Yeah.
that niche was hugely profitable. It was a great niche.
Yeah. You know, in the construction world too, when you have a service line business or you're taking pools out, it certainly helps bridge the cash flow gap between like big job to big job or large pay app to large pay app. You know what I mean? If you got this like steady business that you're just going in, yanking a pool out in a day and a half, 2, 3 days, and filling it back in and billing it, it's totally different ball game, right?
Yeah, it was great. It was, and it kept all my guys busy. Didn't lay anyone off during that time. 2007, 2008 was really rough in the construction industry, and so yeah, it was great for bridge. We were on like a 60 to 70% gross margin on these projects, and so it was certainly worth doing. Although we were used to doing bigger projects, that was, it's more fun. But these things were so systematized, and it just like clockwork, the way that the way the systems were set up around it, that it was great.
So you pull this pool out of ground, right? Now you got this giant hole you have to fill with dirt. And you mentioned you came up with some creative solutions on how to figure that out. Put someone in your office to locate the dirt problem. Like, so what did you do?
Well, let me back up a little bit. One of the things I like to do in business is look at sort of where the choke points are. How can I create a mini monopoly with what I'm doing? And so I realized that if I could kind of get good control of the dirt, that I could dominate sort of my little niche. And so it wasn't just providing, getting dirt for ourselves. It was finding dirt dump sites for truckers and excavators. Anybody who needed it, call me and I'll find a place for you. And we would put it to, either our sites or other sites that we had. We just wouldn't put it into our competitors' sites. So it made my job really easy because we could fill a pool in a day, and these other guys might flounder for a week or two trying to find dirt for their pools. And so this person basically just called around and said, all the truckers, hey, if you got any dirt, let me know, give me a call, we'll find a place for it. And so eventually we started getting, she was on text messaging and email and phone all day long, sort of putting these dirt deals together. And so when we built Dirt Match, we basically just built a software to do the same thing. Now that was just solving my problem. And we've learned now that it's been a few years that there's a lot of additional problems in the dirt industry that we're trying to solve.
Yeah. So how does Dirt Match work? So what if you have a dirt issue problem, or you have dirt, need to buy dirt, how does Dirt Match work?
So it works in a lot of different ways. Dirt, if the basic core of it is, if you have dirt or you need dirt, you just put a post up there, and there's lots of people in your area that are looking for it. We have bigger markets right now in California, Washington, Texas, Colorado. So you'll usually find matches. I think we have 3 million yards of dirt on there right now or something, and about 7,500 users. But there's other ways too, is like when, in case you don't find a match, we have an RFQ system. And so if you're a trucker or an excavator looking for work, Dirt Match is a great place for leads. We have relationships with different landfills where we're getting some wholesale rates, so we're able to negotiate better rates than you might be able to yourself. And so, if you are, the easiest thing is to put it on there, and you happen to find somebody that wants your dirt for free. You guys make a deal, good for you. If it's not quite that easy, we have more like dirt concierge service, where we say, okay, well, we'll take care of it for you. We'll call around, we'll find the dirt for you, we'll get you the best deal, and then we have a small fee that we charge for the savings that you find it. So that's that, and then there's more data that's starting to come up that's super useful as well. One of the problems we found was with the dirt is, like, if you're bidding a project, about how much your rebar is going to cost, about how much your concrete is going to cost, about how much your lumber, and but when it came to dirt, it was like, well, I don't know, the landfill is going to charge $40 a ton. Right now, I know that there's a dump site that's open, 4 blocks down the road, but the project starts in 6 months and that might be full. And so you don't know how much you're going to pay to get rid of it. So you have to kind of guess. You say, well, I can say, well, worst case scenario, we're going to landfill, and we can bid that and then find a cheaper deal later on and keep the alpha. That's great, except that you're less competitive. And so we're sort of, now that we're getting enough data, we're starting to come up with what is like a market price for dirt for each different area, which is helpful.
Nice. So in construction, there's lots of technology that gets started, tries to get incorporated. Some does, some doesn't. I think your platform here, introducing a piece of technology and software to try to solve a real problem. Do you see any resistance to the technology? Is there benefits to having technology more in construction? Not of actual Like, hey, that's my buddy, over there. I'm going to call him up and I'll get some dirt. Like what have been some of the barriers? Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, in general, construction guys are out. They're not like your tech crowd that's sitting in front of a computer all day. They're actually doing real work. And so to try to sell a solution to them that, that's going to make them have to use a computer or have to use their phone or something, it's not always the easiest sell, right? And so, once you give people enough money and put enough money in their pocket, they get excited. And so that's what we're seeing now. It's like, well, they were really resistant, but then they put a listing up and then they found someone to take their dirt for free 3 blocks away and they save $50,000. And it's like, okay, well, I don't like technology, but I like money. And so that's
like
the selling point. Yeah.
It's funny because I have a friend of mine who started a really cool business called Heave, and they do like large equipment maintenance. So a big piece of equipment goes down, you got to call the dealer. Maybe the dealer will send their tech out. Maybe they won't. It's not on your timeline. Meanwhile, you have this giant piece of equipment that's down. It's not making you money. Not only that, but whatever they're going to charge you, you're going to have to pay and be willing to, because you need the piece of equipment up and running. Well, he created this network of maintenance, like, certified maintenance mechanics that were either from the dealers or before. And now on an app, they can go out and locate these. Like, I have a problem. This piece of machine, this skid steer's down, this giant excavator's down, whatever it is. And they can get somebody there quicker, faster, for a better price. Part of the hustle was getting people on the platform. But once the solution came about, he's like, once someone uses it once and they get someone there quickly and the savings, he's like, it's a no-brainer. And I think I look at your solution for dirt in a very similar way.
Yeah, that was something like that, and I've been out of it for a while now. I sold my company 10 years ago, but something like that would have been insanely valuable, just because if one thing broke, like for the pools, for example, if one thing broke, a bobcat broke that needed to be fixed, and there was 3 trucks standing by, 5 laborers standing by, a geotech soils engineer, you're spending $500 an hour standing by waiting for this bobcat to fix. I'll pay anything to get someone on site. So I love that idea.
Yeah. And it's cool. So when you had first told me about Dirt Match, I'm like, wow, I know the problem. I've heard of the problem before. I'm like, now you got this cool piece of technology that can literally find the other side without having to dial, because it's 10 times more efficient.
That's right. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing so far. But, we're also a marketplace. And so a marketplace has value with 2 sides on it. So this is the thing, when we were launching in the beginning, you think of it like a dating site, and you've got 3 guys and 2 girls on your dating site. It's not very valuable. There's not a lot of marketplace effect. And so that marketplace effect now is really starting to grow. And so now we're starting to see a lot more matches. And so that's really promising. So it kind of tells me that the guys in the construction industry are starting to look for solutions. And so I'm excited to be able to provide one.
And so how do you incorporate people onto your site? How do you bring people? How do you attract people? How do you get users in there so that they can actually start to use it?
Well, we're all over the internet. And so, word of mouth is a lot. A lot of people will, find us on Google, come on, make a posting, connect with other people, tell their buddies. So we're just kind of making life easier. And so far, we haven't spent any money at all. And so that's sort of what is promising to me about, that we're a relative success at this point, without spending any money in marketing.
It's a good sign when you have enough users using the site that can actually get it used effectively, efficiently for the user base, and you're not trying to have some type of marketing to drive users there.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
So, and I appreciate you helping me get the word out.
No, we have lots of construction folks in our network, whether they're on the podcast, watching the podcast, in LinkedIn, and our newsletter. And, I hear about dirt all the time. I hear guys I got to figure out something. I got to figure out a place to put this dirt. I need dirt. Here in Florida now, if you're building a brand new home, for example, or you're building a set of homes, you have to move sometimes significant amounts of dirt to get it above grade. The floodplains have changed, rules and regulations have changed. When these disasters come through, a hurricane comes through, all the new building codes come into place, and you got to get these homes that were otherwise 4 feet above sea level. They now have to be at 22, and you could do that with huge stem walls. You could use that with concrete, but no matter what, you're bringing dirt in. Like
That's
you're
right.
bringing some dirt in. There's
That's
just
right.
no doubt about it. And so,
It's interesting because every place has its different challenges, right?
mhm.
And so that's Florida's challenge. In California, it's all infill. So your big parking garages are going in like crazy. And so, underground, 100,000 yards. Texas a little bit further out, maybe somebody's, digging a big old pond or a lake or something. And we're going to, so there's all these different market dynamics that we're seeing. And it's pretty interesting.
So what other problems, while you're familiar with construction world, what other problems do you think could be out there that technology should solve or people should consider you looking at?
I mean, I'm really excited about AI right now. A lot of the AI tools that are coming out, just because they streamline your workflows, it helps for content creation, helps for marketing, for your customer service, for chat, handling customer inquiries when you're not available. I'm pretty excited about a lot of those. And actually, I've been putting together some training materials for the construction industry in particular as with AI. But there's a lot. There's so many different, I feel like a lot of the younger guys are starting to come into the construction industry, taking over their father's business and bringing this new sort of technology mindset. And also, a lot of young guys are realizing that, the job market has gotten tough, and you can't make a bunch of money in tech like you were before. And they're starting to look at the trades. They're like, hey, I could be a plumber, and I can, or I could do woodwork, and I can make some real money. And they're bringing technology solutions. So things are shifting now. And so I think now is a really great time to sort of start bridging the gap of technology and construction.
I agree. I think things around payment platforms, have really put their way in. I don't know if they're speeding up payment yet, but they're there. They're in place. They could. Things like Procore and other GC Pay, other things like that are kind of streamlining payments. I've seen, I mentioned Heave construction, trying to find service and maintenance, which is a big problem. And now Dirt Match, trying to figure out the dirt world. I just think there's more
Yeah.
technology coming in that can really help, particularly when construction and commercial construction in particular is going through a labor shortage. I don't think you're going to replace, I don't think we want to. I wouldn't be a supporter of using AI to replace humans, but I think you need to help your humans be more efficient, and that's where you can be used.
Yeah, yep, yeah. Trucking too is a big one. We've been talking to a company, Trucks, and they're really streamlining that operation. It's pretty amazing. It's like you hit a button on your phone and a truck shows up. I mean, that's pretty nice. And you can track where they're all going. And so it just takes a lot of the mystery out of that. Back when I would call truckers back in the day, you call someone, yeah, I'll be there. It's a 30-minute round trip, but he's been gone for 2 hours. And it's just like frustrating. And so they're fixing all these problems. It's great.
Yeah. I think it's cool. So you wrote a book called The Hustle Trap.
Yeah.
What's it about? What's the story? What made you write the book?
All right, so I have to back up. We were talking earlier about 2007, 2008. It was a tough time. Well, it just so happens, I had been running my business for about 7 years, and I show up to a job site one morning, which, by the way, I had like 20 jobs at the time. I was pulling permits, I was drawing plans, I was doing all the sales, I was managing my crews, I was operating equipment, I was doing everything. And then one morning, I show up to a job site. One of my guys is downloading a Bobcat off a trailer on a 1-ton dually crew cab. And the truck broke free down the hill. I'm standing here on the phone, smoking a cigarette, look up the hill and see this truck rolling towards me. And I go, oh shit. Try to get out of the way, fall right down in front of it. It runs me over, drags me down the street underneath it, hits a car, jackknifes in the middle of the road, pull myself out, look down, my femur snapped in half. It's sticking out of my jeans. My tibia snapped. It's at a 90-degree angle. I couldn't breathe because my broken ribs had punctured my lungs. I shattered my shoulder. Lost about half of my blood. So I was pretty close to dead. And so I got rushed off to the trauma center and went through 12 hours of trauma surgery, put me all back together. And when I woke up, that was July 3rd, 2007. I woke up July 4th, Independence Day. And like the thing that had got me going off the ground, which was sort of my physicality, I knew how to work, I knew how to use my body, was gone. And so I'm here, I've got a company, I got guys that are relying on me. And so it's like, well, what is my company going to do without me? I've worked really hard to grow this thing and I feel responsible to them. And so I had to start shifting the way that I did things. And so I really started, managing my construction business from the 30,000 foot level, because that's all I could do. So I got in front of a computer, I started doing more marketing, I started doing, creating more systems, and it started started structuring my business in such a way that it could run without me. And so once I did that, this was actually a huge shift in my business. The business just started to grow. And I was, realizing that I had hired great guys. They were performing. They didn't need me in the field. I thought I was really important. As it turns out, it's like it was better with me gone. And so there was all these lessons I learned. And so I kept a lot of those with me. And I've started, several other companies since then. I used to have recycling centers around the Bay Area. I've had a property preservation company. Even now I have a construction drafting company. I have Dirt Match. And so I applied a lot of those same rules. And so, I just, during COVID, just thought, hey, I help a lot of, entrepreneurs. And I have like a lot of different sort of specialties, and a lot of writings that I had written to help people out with their businesses. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll just put some of these lessons down into a book and see if it's useful to anyone. And so that was the basis of it. I have had a couple of near-death experiences, and I always thought I'd be ashamed to spend 25 years learning how to do something and then just to die with it inside you without sharing it. And so that was sort of the basis of the book.
That's an awesome story, man. I didn't realize that had to be, there's a lot to unpack there. One, that must have been an insane, scary moment to be the trucks at you. And then, obviously you're underneath it, then the pain of it, but to see the gift and the experience also, like looking back now, a gift, I'm sure it didn't feel like a gift during it, and definitely not recovering from it, but like there's a lot of perspective you gain from there helping you do what you're doing right now.
Yeah, 100%. That wasn't the end of it. That was just the beginning. So it ended up the next 2 years, I had like 6 more surgeries of like rerods and bone grafts. And it was a pretty nasty recovery process. But man, I learned a lot, and I wouldn't give it back. And so, hopefully people can learn from my experiences without getting run over by a truck.
Yeah, that's and so what can someone expect to hear in the book? Like, are they going to, if they learn about what?
So I try to keep it pretty high level principles. I stay away from tools, even though I'm a tools guy, tools are constantly changing faster and faster. And so really kind of stuck to the principles around people, around the processes, around, sort of your mindset. What should you be doing on a day-to-day basis? Making sure that you carve out some time for yourself. I call it the hustle trap, just because before I got in this accident, that's where I was. It was like I had grown this business, and the skills that got me to where I was, which was just working like a dog, were the same skills that were holding my business back. And so I call that the hustle trap. It was like I was putting in the, 70 hours a week, and I thought that was the right thing to do, but it was a totally wrong thing to do. And so the book just kind of helps you sort of walk back from that and help you, get over the hump because to get to sort of the next level of where you want to be in business, you need to change.
So, it's interesting because I hear a lot of people we speak to, a lot of business owners talk about that. They're in the grind. I've been working for 10 years. Scott, I'm still working for the same paycheck I was 5 years ago. I just had this bigger business, more problems. What do you think it is that in what you did, how you described that, and what I heard you say was like, I got a 30,000 foot view. I put systems in place. I put process. I tried to get the business to run as if I wasn't there. What did that exactly look like in your business? And then what happened?
So, the forced exit is one thing, and that's what happened with me. But there's, after that, I started doing more voluntary exits, meaning I take a month vacation or a 6-week vacation with the family, or, just to start creating distance between myself and my business, and then just seeing what breaks. You can fix the obvious stuff, like your hiring processes and your CRM software and your sales and your permitting, all those types of processes. But there's always going to be other things that come up. And so every time you step away from your business and you come back and see what's broken, if you start creating systems around it, then your business gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And so, a lot of guys spend a decade building a business or 20 years building a business and then have an accident like mine, and an asset that was worth millions of dollars is worthless within 60 days. Because they didn't have a plan set up. And so without them, the business couldn't operate. And so I always say, sit down and write out a list. If I were to disappear from my business tomorrow for a month, what are the things that would have to happen that wouldn't happen? Write them all down, and then just start going through that list and just creating systems, hiring people, put processes in place, and slowly start checking off that list. And so that's, it's been a good process for me.
So how do people find you guys now here? So they like, I want to get on, I want to get involved with Dirt Match. How do they get involved? What's the best way for them to find you guys and jump right in?
Yeah, I mean, the best way is to go to dirtmatch.com. Typically, you register once you have a need. And so once you have dirt or need dirt or whatever, go on the site as early as possible, because you can say, 6 months from now, I got a project that's coming up. And so put it in there so people will be looking for you. But also email me, Ryan at Dirtmatch. Always happy to, jump on a call to help walk people through things or just to chit chat about the product. Whatever I can solve for people. If there's different, I'm finding all these different problems in the dirt industry that maybe I wasn't familiar with because I was very intimate with the Northern California market. And so people are in Florida, for example, it's like, well, no, we buy all of our dirt. Like, oh, okay, well, in the Bay Area, it was the other way around. People were paying to get rid of it, and so whatever works.
That's cool. And where can people find the book to buy it?
It's on Amazon. Amazon got an Audible if you want me in your ear for a few hours while you're sitting on a tractor. That's so it's everywhere. It's the Hustle Trap. You can also go to ryancrownholm.com and find it there.
Awesome. Well, Ryan, I always like to ask one more question, and that is, what have I not asked you that I should have?
You asked me a lot. What should you have asked me? On the you asked me a lot of stuff on the front of my business card. I think there's stuff on the back that I'm more proud of. Family and my friends and the things that I like to keep myself busy with. I spent all day Wednesday at Tehachapi State Prison. I go and I mentor a lot of guys in prison when they're getting out to help them sort of get ready for the real world and gaining soft skills. I homeschool my kids. I love to travel. Got a motorcycle. Got going to Sturgis this year with some buddies.
Nice.
I got an RV. I love traveling in the RV. So that's the stuff that really fires me up.
That's cool. Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing your knowledge and information. Obviously, anyone listening to this, please jump in and support the book. At a minimum, log on to Dirt Match. See what's out there. Put your dirt out there. Let people know if you need some dirt. And if not, let your friends know, share the story. People are certainly needing dirt. And so I think finding a cool marketplace where you can either make money, save money, or spend less if you're looking for it to buy, depending on what market you're in, is a great avenue, great tool. And I know tons of people out there are trying to solve their dirt needs.
Yeah, and the best part about it is it's free. I mean, there's, if you're just putting a post up, it's free. There's a pro membership if you want a bunch of advanced features, but to get started costs you nothing.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ryan, thank you very much for joining on the show today, man. And everyone, if you like this, if this helped you at all, please share the show. Click on subscribe on our YouTube channel. Subscribe on any form of the podcast that you're listening to this to. And you can find me on LinkedIn, and Ryan also is active on LinkedIn to connect with us. And we hope for the best, and God bless.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Scott.